Hello, and welcome to the Lamar Station Crossing Sustainable Workshop. My name is Ryan McCott, and I am the Sustainability and Grant Programs Manager for Metro West Housing Solutions, the owner and builder of Lamar Station Crossing. We periodically facilitate workshops and educational events to help inform our residents of the sustainable features we incorporate into our building designs and help you understand how they affect your utility bill and overall quality of life while living or visiting the building. However, we recognize that not everybody can attend a workshop in person, so we've created this video recording to allow you to watch the workshop at any time. If you have any questions, you can always ask anyone at Lamar Station Crossing that works for Metro West in property management, maintenance, or resident services. And at the end of the presentation, we will provide their contact information. So again, why are we here today? To help you all understand what the sustainable features are of this building and how those features affect your utility bills and the overall energy consumption of the building as a whole and your individual apartments. We also want to talk about how to reduce and minimize your usage of electricity and gas heat and lighting in order to limit your utility bills while maximizing your quality of experience in the building. I'm going to start by talking about what the green building features are at Lamar Station Crossing. So one of the things that we do that's very important is third-party verification of all of our building systems. So in addition to groups like the City of Lakewood that periodically inspect the building during all phases of construction and must give us approval before we can continue with and complete construction, we also have third-party verifications from the producers of various materials and products that we incorporate into the building, whether it's something like roofing or appliances. Oftentimes those manufacturers will want to visit the building to make sure they were installed and are operating correctly. We also often hire third-party building inspection services similar to what the City of Lakewood does, but an additional layer of support to make sure that we build a high-quality, safe, and affordable building for you. And then we also utilize LEED, which stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. And this is a certification program that is facilitated by the United States Green Building Council. And what LEED is focused on is providing third-party verification for everything focused on sustainability. So as you can see here, they're looking at a variety of factors. Sustainable sites is reviewing where the property is actually located within the context of its surroundings in the neighborhood. So with Lamar Station Crossing, for example, LEED wants to analyze how close the building is to schools, employment opportunities, recreation amenities, etc. And we're able to generate points that are tied to that, to whether or not the building is close to those particular features. Water efficiency. There's a baseline that you must meet for any kind of code with the City of Lakewood or other various jurisdictions related to water efficiency. And what LEED is doing is trying to encourage developers like Metro West Housing to go above and beyond the baseline or minimum of what is required by code. So we were able to generate points through LEED by having an especially water efficient building. Energy and atmosphere category is focused on the energy efficiency of the building. So using Energy Star appliances, for example, at Lamar Station Crossing helps us limit the overall amount of energy that the building requires, and thus we gain points from LEED for doing so. Materials and resources is focused on the actual materials and resources associated with the building. So LEED likes when you purchase materials produced regionally, because, for example, at Lamar Station Crossing, we purchased all of our bricks from the Lakewood Brickyard across the 13th Avenue and the light rail tracks from the building. As all of those bricks were produced locally, it helps with the local economy, but it also helps with the overall environmental impact of producing those bricks. Imagine if the bricks had been produced in Kansas City. They would have to be transported all the way to Colorado, and that would require a lot of oil and gas use, electricity, and a lot of extra labor and the value of that economic investment would be realized in Kansas City as opposed to Lakewood. Indoor environmental quality is focused on access to daylight, fresh air, and other factors. And then LEED also offers an innovation in operations and regional priority sets of credits. So there are certain important elements in different climates. So in Colorado, for example, water efficiency is very important here in a typically arid climate. So you can actually get extra points through LEED by going above and beyond in water efficiency. Whereas in the southeast portion of the United States, water efficiency isn't as big of an issue, but other issues are. Or if you do something innovative that's outside of the box, you can get points there. And basically what LEED is doing is they compile points in each of these categories, and then we have to prove how we're meeting those to LEED in order to get the points. And depending on how many points you receive for a building, you can be LEED certified, achieve silver, gold, or platinum status. So Lamar Station Crossing got enough points to be in the gold category, which means it's in the higher level of sustainability than a lot of other comparable buildings of its size and type in the United States or internationally. So going through these categories, we thought we would start by focusing on each of the categories within LEED, and then what does that really mean for you as an occupant in the building? So when we thought about improving air quality and daylighting across the building, we looked at a whole variety of factors, starting with the toxicity or non-toxicity of finishes. So the flooring, the paints, the sealants that connect hanging light fixtures to the wall. Basically, a lot of what you see in the image here, we emphasized ensuring they were non-toxic. Low or no VOC. So a VOC is a volatile organic compound, and basically what a VOC is it's a gas that's emitted from various solid or liquid compounds. So for an example, think of that new car smell. Those are VOCs being emitted from the indoor seating, the plastics that put the car together, the air freshener you might have hung in the car, the quality of the carpeting along the floor of the car. So all of these products, when you combine different chemical compounds together, it will emit some type of a gas or some kind, and it typically comes off in an odor form. And so what we did is with every single sealant, adhesive, glue of any kind, all of the paints either have low or no volatile organic compounds in the actual product itself. And we verify that, again, through another third party, typically the Environmental Protection Agency, or groups like Green Seal with carpet that literally take their products into labs and test what kind of gases are being emitted from them, and then determine whether those gases are in any way harmful to human health. As you've probably noticed in the building, all of our windows are operable, and that's to give our residents an opportunity to gain access to fresh air directly in their apartment. Oftentimes, apartments don't have operable windows, and all of the air is constantly recirculated through the whole building. So you might be getting your neighbor's air recirculated into your bedroom or vice versa. So we try to offer an opportunity for you guys to have a little bit more control over your own surroundings and get access to outdoor air. As you might have noticed as well, we designed the building in such a way to give our residents some great views of downtown, the foothills, and Dry Gulch to the south. And that's just important to us in order to enhance the quality of your experience living in the building. And it's been proven through a lot of research that people feel better and function better in buildings when they have access to views of green space. Daylighting. In addition to improving the quality of your experience with access to daylight, which has also been proven through research to have positive health effects, particularly as you're able to absorb more vitamin D when you have access to daylight. It also helps limit our energy efficiency, and improve our energy efficiency rather, and I'll talk more about that in a minute, but by sort of gives us a dual value there, where if we can find ways to add more windows into your apartment, you'll have to use your lights less, and then that will thus lower the energy use of our building and lower your energy bill. We are very careful about any kind of mold or moisture issues. In fact, when we constructed the building, we actually built a mini version of what the exterior wall would be like, so that we could really understand the different layers, from the exterior of the brick, going into all the different vapor barriers and moisture barriers, to the drywall and the studs, and then ultimately to the inside of the building itself, just so that we can understand and test to be sure that there would be no possibility of mold issues in the future. The building is smoke-free, and that helps tremendously with indoor air quality. And we have a pretty rigorous and intensive pest management plan. So we do everything we can to prevent any kinds of insects or any other pests from getting into the building. And in the case that they were to get in the building, we would be using as low or no non-toxic preventative or management techniques as possible. Active design is a big part of what we do as well. So healthy living is very important to us and to our residents, and we want to make it as easy and effective as possible for you to get exercise and enjoy Colorado's healthy lifestyle in the building and outside of the building. So as you know, we have the on-site fitness center and fitness room there. We have the playground. We've got the stairwells. So if you haven't noticed, each of the indoor stairwells have art and kind of an interactive feature to it. And our intent there was to ensure that the stairwells were as inviting, welcoming, and safe as possible, to encourage our residents and visitors to utilize them, which is not only healthy and increases activity, but again, it also lowers our energy use because it will limit the amount of time people spend using elevators in the building. We also have the indoor and outdoor bike storage, the open space in the back, and access to the gulch and some of the parks nearby. And we've done everything that we can do within the parameters of our constrained site to connect to surrounding neighborhood amenities and pedestrian trails, such as the Dry Gulch biking trail and the bridge that we built over Dry Gulch to connect to some of the other trails in the neighborhood. It's a very transit-oriented community. And what that means is that we recognize that not everybody can or necessarily wants to drive everywhere by themselves. So we figured out some different ways to address that issue. First of all, by locating the building 500 feet from a light rail platform and bus stop. So you're able to drive very easily and get to Colfax or 6th Avenue and I-25 from Lamar Station Crossing. We provided adequate parking for our residents and visitors, but we also wanted to make a building as close as we could possibly get it to transportation, to mass transportation through RTD. So as you can see here, that just how close the building actually is to the light rail station itself. And in addition, to the left of the photo here, you can't quite see it, is Dry Gulch Trail. So within 500 feet of the property line, you can jump on a bike onto Dry Creek Trail, and that will take you to the South Platte River and then into downtown Denver, or you can ride it west out to the Federal Center and Jefferson County Government Center. And in addition as well, if you are interested in any kinds of light rail passes or transportation assistance, please talk to our resident services coordinator on site, Becky Whitehouse. Waste reduction is a big part of what we do. So if you haven't already, think about using your in-unit recycle bin, the little blue bins that most of our residents in the building have. If you do not have a bin and would like one, stop by and ask somebody in maintenance, property management, or resident services in the building, and we can get you one. We actually had those bins specially designed to fit underneath the sink in the cabinet in each of your units as a way to help make it easier to recycle, recognizing that it's a challenge to separate your trash and recycling, so we want to provide you an actual bin to do that. And then we have recycling and trash chutes on every floor in the building, which is quite rare. We were only the second building in the Denver metropolitan area to have dual recycling and trash chutes on every floor of the building. Typically, apartments will force the residents to have their own bin to recycle materials and then often take it out to a dumpster. So if you live on the 4th floor, it's quite a task to recycle, and we don't want to make it difficult for you. So we've done everything that we can do to make recycling as easy as possible. And remember, anything that has the recycle symbol, which you can see on the blue bin in the image here, is recyclable, and we can take care of that for you. The bins also have directions on them in English and Spanish telling you what is or is not recyclable and how to find the symbol. In addition, we also offer a free e-waste recycling program to Lamar Station Crossing residents. If you weren't aware, it is now illegal in the state of Colorado to throw away intensive electronics like CD players, DVD players, televisions, printers, fax machines, old laptops. Those are now no longer allowed to be disposed of in landfills. And the reason why that is because these products take many hundreds, if not thousands of years to break down and decompose in the environment naturally. And even as they do break down and decompose, they release many environmentally hazardous chemicals that are also adversely affect our health as humans. So as that old computer degrades in a landfill, for example, it might be hundreds of generations before you could ever remove all of the toxins out of that ground that have leaked from that computer over time. So what we're able to do is, if you have an old printer or television, please let our maintenance staff know, or put it in the trash and recycling room on your own, and we can take care of that. And what we do is we partner with a local nonprofit group that takes all of these old electronics and e-waste from around the Denver metro area, and they work with people who have mental disabilities to break down these products and pull out the precious metals from them that can be recycled and used again. Because oftentimes in a television or computer, there's lots of products like gold and aluminum and other metals that can actually be reused or repurposed for a new life as a different type of product. Energy and water efficiency, as I mentioned, are a big part of what we do. So as I mentioned earlier, we have our little mock wall that we typically had built as part of our construction process to understand. What that was a little snippet of the envelope. So a building envelope is essentially its entire wall structure. So from that edge of the brick and the outside windows, all the way to the paint on the drywall, the interior, and everything in between. So we do a tremendous amount of analysis working with our architects and engineers to figure out how to make the most efficient building envelope as possible, so that when we're pumping heat into the building, it stays in the building, it doesn't leak out everywhere. And we are thinking a lot about the heating and cooling system of the building and making sure that it's as efficient as possible. We're thinking about our lighting, so there are no incandescent bulbs in the entire building. They are all compact fluorescent or LED bulbs, which are a fraction of as energy intensive as incandescent bulbs. The Energy Star appliances I mentioned, WaterSense is the equivalent of Energy Star for water efficient fixtures, so we get EPA approved water efficient appliances. All of our landscaping is native or highly adaptable, which means that it functions very well in our climate. And our irrigation system is very efficient and smart, so it's typically using about half as much water as a typical building. We also have a large solar photovoltaic array on the rooftop, and that provides about 14% of the building's annual energy needs. And then we also buy wind power credits. So what we don't produce in electricity on the building itself, we actually have a deal with Excel in which the rest of that electricity is purchased through wind power facilities on the Eastern Plains. So we can actually work with Excel and make sure that we are getting wind power to the building as opposed to conventional power. Now let's talk a little bit about utility bills and where they come from and how we get to these numbers. So first of all, if you weren't aware, we actually are covering gas, water, trash, recycling, and wireless internet are just paid for by Metro West housing. So that alone is a great, tremendous value relative to other apartments where you will typically pay everything, but maybe trash and water. Sometimes gas will be included, but not often. And we want to, part of why we're able to do that is because we make the building so efficient that it creates a little extra value that we can then put into something like providing free Wi-Fi for the entire building. What you are paying for as a resident is just the electricity that you generate in your apartments. So how does it work? How do you get that bill each month? Basically what happens is Excel comes out and they read the meters on a monthly basis. That provides a total building cost, and that is based on the consumption of electricity, which is managed in kilowatt hours, current rates. So there's a whole array of different rates and structures that Excel is analyzing on a monthly basis, various taxes and fees that all of us as Coloradans have to pay, and then demand charges. And that's a very important one because there are certain times of the day and the year when Excel's power capacity is tested by everybody on the grid using as much as possible. So imagine when you hear about those times where Excel asks you not to use your air conditioning if you're not home in the late summer afternoon. And the reason why that is they're trying to guess how much demand on their power structure is going to be. So they've got these wind power plants, solar arrays, coal and oil and gas plants all over Colorado, and they need to understand how much oil or natural gas they need to be pumping into their power plants at a particular time. So everybody in Colorado is oftentimes charged different rates based upon when they're using energy. So 6 to 9 a.m. on weekdays is a high time of energy use because people are getting up and going to work. And you have that same scenario when people get home from work between 4:30 and 7:30. People are coming home, turning on their TVs, taking a shower, getting dinner ready, those kinds of things. And then we get one utility bill statement for the whole building from Excel. And what we have in order to decipher who spent what of that electricity in the building, we have a wireless sub-metering system. And what that basically does is you have little meters in each of your apartments that wirelessly connect back to us through a software system. So we are able to track in real time how much kilowatt hour usage is taking place in all of the apartments across the building. And that gives us a readout of how much energy is being used by apartments versus how much energy is being used by common spaces. And then we pay for the common space piece, and then we break out the sub-meter data from the 110 units that we have in the building, and that's how you get your utility bill at the beginning of each month. And so that's just kind of a snippet of what a typical bill that you might get looks like. So trying to understand this idea of peak demand charges that I mentioned earlier. So you can kind of see here how it can vary throughout the day, where you have a certain point in the day that is your peak demand, where everybody on the grid is putting pressure on the power plants to produce energy for them. And it can vary, which can make your bills go up and down throughout the year. So one thing that's a big impact of that is the behaviors that you exhibit in your own apartments. That will greatly impact how much energy you use in a month. As I mentioned earlier, we've given you a very efficient building envelope. We've provided all highly efficient lighting and water efficient appliances in your units. What we can't necessarily control is how often you have your TV on, whether you choose to bring in an additional lamp that uses an incandescent bulb in it, how hot you want your showers to be, all those things. So you can, if you aren't happy with your bill because it's too high, there are a lot of things that you can do to limit your bill. So this is a quick snippet from January of 2015. Typically we're seeing that our winter months are when the bills are the highest in the building, and in the end of the summer as it gets really warm. And so what you can see here, before we even built the building, we did a lot of modeling and analysis to renters for their energy each month. So you can see when we modeled January, a 1-bedroom we were expecting to be around $33 a month on average, a 2-bedroom around $43 a month on average, and a 3-bedroom at $56 a month on average. And keep in mind that those modeled numbers are around half of what is required by code. So many of the new apartment buildings you see going up around Denver will be closer to twice that when they actually open. And that's because those buildings are striving to meet code, but not necessarily meet LEED Gold standards. And so the actual usage in January was quite a bit higher than we anticipated, but it's still within the range of what could be expected. So we wanted to understand a little bit better, why is that happening? So the 1-bedroom average was around $51, 2-bedroom about $75, and 3-bedroom about $104. And now if you look at the range across the building during that same month of January 2015, what you'll see is the most efficient 1-bedroom in that month of January only had a bill of less than $9, whereas the most expensive unit that month was almost $165. And as you can see there, the difference was in the amount of kilowatt hours used, which is the amount of energy efficiency used. And what you have here is only 69 kilowatt hours for that low unit, whereas almost up to 1,300 on the highest unit. So what the difference is there is the 1-bedroom tenant that had a $164.71 bill was using a lot of electricity. They may have wanted to keep their unit very warm. They may have had lights on or a TV on 24/7. Something different as opposed to that other 1-bedroom tenant who maybe works 60 hours a week and is hardly ever home or keeps their temperature down to a really low rate. The 2-bedroom range went from $20.93 to $212.55. 3-bedroom from $55.51 to $131.04. So again, that's a massive range. So when you look at that average back on the previous slide, it sort of shows you where everybody is. Every household has different dynamics. We have some households with 1 person, some households with 6. So when you have more people, you're going to use more energy. But what you can do, regardless of how big your household is limit your usage as much as possible, and if it is a concern for viewers to have a high bill. So how do you reduce that demand you're putting on the grid and thus reduce your energy bill each month? And there are multiple values to it. So there's certainly the monetary benefit of having a lower utility bill, which everybody wants, but there's also a number of non-monetary benefits that may benefit you directly or the community as a whole. So one of the opportunities is looking at your thermostat. So we typically, if you were in a single family home, you might want to program your thermostat and have it be at a low temperature when you're not home and rev up heat or air conditioning when you're actually home. What we've learned at Lamar Station Crossing is that it doesn't work quite as well as it does in a single family home. So we're recommending that you don't actually use setbacks and that you keep your thermostat at around 70 or less in the winter and 78 or so in the summer, and whether you're home or not. And what we found that does is it keeps the bills low for residents because you're not hitting that demand time I talked about in the mornings and evenings. So for example, in the summer, if you are keeping your apartment at 78 degrees throughout the day and you get home from work and it's a comfortable 78 when you walk in the door, then you don't need to turn on your air conditioning. But if you've had your thermostat off the whole day and you come in and turn on your thermostat and it's 85, it's going to work really, really hard, your air conditioning, to get you down to 78. And the challenge with that is it's working very hard and using a lot of energy it's pulling from the grid. And Excel sees that because you're turning on your air conditioning along with thousands of other households in the metro area, so it's putting pressure on the power grid to provide you that energy, and then Excel will charge you more for using that. Space heaters and thermostats. If you have a space heater, it may very well be the most or one of the most inefficient items in your home. It's even a typical space heater, they're becoming more efficient all the time, but they still have a long way to go. And and your average space heater could cost you $30 a month just in your electric bill. So it's always a good starting point to start with your thermostat. And if you're feeling like it's not working, that you just don't feel comfortable and you really need a space heater, before you buy it, we would recommend that you just ask property maintenance on site. We'd be happy to come in and take a look at your unit. Maybe there's a table or a couch that's blocking air from getting around your unit, or maybe there's something else that we need to tinker with in there to make it as efficient and high quality as possible. We want you to enjoy your space and to like the temperature and the airflow in your unit, and we're happy to help and take a look at it before you purchase and start using a space heater. We have a lot of tips on how you can save energy. If you have any lamps or other devices that provide light that you want to bring into your unit in addition to what we've built into the apartment, always use CFLs or LEDs. And again, talk to property maintenance. We have a lot of suggestions on really cost-effective and affordable and high-quality LEDs and CFLs that we've tested and approved in our own homes, and that can easily save you at least 80% a month. So you imagine that one bill. Why not spend $2 a month instead of $10 on your electric bill for a reading light or something like that? If you're not home, especially for an extended period of time, it's important to turn off and unplug your electronics. So a television, for example, even if it's off, it's still sucking power out of the grid, and the reason it's doing that is oftentimes because it's connected to a remote control. So in order for you to walk in the door, having had the TV off all day, and be able to grab your remote, push power, and the TV pops right on like you want it to, it's because it's been drawing a little bit of power all day just to make sure it stays connected to that remote so you can turn it on at any point. All of our appliances are getting better and better about not using that phantom power load as much as they used to, but it's still a problem. If you are in the middle of winter, think about opening your shades before you leave in the morning for work so you can allow natural sunlight to heat your unit so you're not paying for heat while you're not in the building. And in the summer, close your shades before you head out. Again, setting your thermostats where they should be. And think about using your ceiling fans. Like as an example, at the end of a work day, if it's not too hot, consider opening all of your windows and turning on your ceiling fan, and that's going to use a lot less power and electricity than going right to your air conditioning will. So if you can do that right as the sun starts to go down, it's a great time of day to open all of your windows and get your ceiling fan on. Little things that you forget about, and particularly in April or October, those kind of funny times of the year where it's hot and cold at different points of the day, try to remember at that point if you have your heater air conditioning on, close your windows, because you're just letting all that air that you're paying to heat or cool right out the window and you're paying for it. If you're not home, make sure you're turning off your lights. And as I mentioned earlier, don't cover up your air conditioning unit by your window or any of your baseboard heating. If you cover it up with a blanket or something, it's not going to work effectively. So that's kind of our rundown of energy and water efficiency and how we're working to keep your bills as low as possible and give you as high a quality living experience as we possibly can. If you ever have any questions that I mentioned, you can always grab a property manager, maintenance, or resident services coordinator. Sarah Fishbein is the property manager for Lamar Station Crossing, and you can reach her anytime at 720-508-7400 if she's not in her office on the main floor in the Resource Center. You can also email her at any time at sarfis@mwhsolutions.org. And we have a sustainable living guide, a little double-sided brochure that really kind of goes back through a lot of what I discussed today. And we can always give that to you electronically, or you can get a hard copy in resident services or property management office at any time. So with that, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact your staff on the property. And you can see here too, we have a web page kind of dedicated to our sustainability efforts and it's www.mwhsolutions.org/sustainability.